We are Zola Bantu. We live in love, we live in purity, we live in justice. We are priests, we are scientists, we are judges. The three pillars of spirituality. We bring together the best of us, we build together, we don't destroy.
Zola, everybody, Zola, we love you so much, Zola Bantu. We are Zola Bantu, we live in love, we live in purity, we live in justice. We are priests, we are scientists, we are judges. The three pillars of spirituality. We bring together the best of us, we build together, we don't destroy. Zolangangu ntakumpamvu nzinga makuku matatu malamba Kongo tubunda pandu katuvani pandu ko. Welcome again to Zola Bantu class number 42. Honor father and mother. My dear brothers and sisters, the principle of light and success in educating our children. We love you so much, my dear brothers and sisters. Welcome again to this episode number 42, to be able to awaken the conscience of African people spiritually and also mentally. We love you so much, Zola Bantu. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule this Sunday to listen to this amazing class, Honor Father and Mother, the principle of light for success in educating our children. In our previous class, we spoke basically about femininity and masculinity in a new Africa in previous classes, and also femininity and masculinity. We also spoke about basically what is a family, and also in our recent last week, we spoke about basically the profanation of the masculine and the feminine activity, how we have basically abused these activities that we need to be able to fix in our lives, my dear brothers and sisters. We explained in details what we need to do to be able to get ourselves in order, to restore our femininity, to restore our masculinity, to be able to be the servant of the Most High in the post-creation. You know that masculinity is basically the activity of transforming the material universe to become the image and resemblance of the spiritual kingdom, of the spiritual universe. And the feminine activity is there as the support and the helper to make sure that when this masculine activity is engaging in its activity, it should not lose that celestial connection and that celestial identity, to know exactly where we are coming from, that we are not from the earth. We came here as foreigners to be able to transform this place and also gain wisdom in the process to become the image and resemblance of our Creator. We love you so much. So this class basically is for our fathers, for our mothers, and even for you, the children, for families, for parents. Everybody is invited to listen to this beautiful class, basically Honor Father and Mother, the principle of light for success in educating our children. My dear brothers and sisters of Africa, we basically covered so many classes. We began with the module 1, which is the foundation. We covered so many classes in the foundation class, and we also covered some class basically in Life 101. We are now basically in class number 42, which is also part of the Life 101, my dear brothers and sisters of Africa. We have basically introduced at Zola Bantu a new initiative called the Zola Bantu Trust Fund. We were basically trying to see how we can collect funds from our members to be able to see how we can be able to use the funds in a good way to be able to fund African projects, my dear brothers and sisters of Africa. So the goal basically is to have 100 members that contribute about $55 a month, and currently we stand at 8 members. We're looking for more, my dear brothers and sisters. If you know somebody you want to commit, you can even start at $20, $30, $40, or even $55, like many of us who are doing at the moment. We have been able to raise over $1,000, and we are trying to see how we can get to $10,000 so we can be able to look at the projects in Africa that is really impactful but lack funding, to see how we can be able to support the projects in Africa and also the project in the Zola Bantu community. So we have basically 5 strategies in Zola Bantu. First of all is education, to awaken the mind of the people, to awaken the conscience. We also have to see how we can grow our own food, see how we can build our own protection service, the army, and see how we can also improve our media and communication services for us to be able to be independent from Western services, to be able to have our own, and also see how we can restore our queens, because the woman is the foundation. If we don't restore our queens, who are basically the ones practicing femininity, we cannot be able to do anything as the masculine activity on the physical earth. So we love you so much, my dear brothers and sisters. Because of time, we're going to move in basically straight into our class for today, class number 42. But before that, Zola Bantu is a spiritual organization preparing humanity for the reign of Kwatulendo, the reign of peace on earth in the heart of Africa. My dear brothers and sisters of Africa, Zola means love, Bantu means people. Our community is divided into 3 branches. We have the priests, the scientists, and the judges. In Kikongo, we send Sakumpamvu and Nzinga, my dear brothers and sisters of Africa. The priests are there to connect us to the Most High. The scientists are there to be able to study the environment, study the universe, to be able to understand the laws, and so we can be able to have a good life here on earth, temporary, even though we are spiritual beings. And the judges are there to be able to help us in governing the state. So all the fields of endeavor can be divided into these 3 principles, my dear brothers and sisters: the priest, the scientists, and the judges. Sakumpamvu Nzinga, Zolangangu Lendo, my dear brothers and sisters of the beautiful Africa. So we're gonna dive in basically into our class for today. Thank you so much for listening to the beautiful music in the beginning and also listening to the introduction. Honor father and mother, the principle of light for success in educating our children. My dear brothers and sisters of Africa, from the bottom of our hearts we send you our greetings and love. For all of you are basically waiting and preparing for the reign of Kwatulendo. Last time we spoke to you about the profanation of the activities of the human spirit. We do not wish to repeat ourselves. We are sure that you have been able to understand everything that we basically taught in the last class. So today we're going to look at basically an important subject: honor, to follow the expression of the Bible. The Bible says in the book of Exodus chapter 20 verse 12, the Bible says, honor your father and your mother so that your days are prolonged on the earth that the Most High your Creator has given you, so that your days on earth may be longer. To be able to live a happy old age, you have the obligation to work on the sense of honoring your father and your mother. But we shall see today that this verse in the light of the eternal gospel. First of all, let's look at the contract. My dear friends of Africa, people of the Bantu, Isolele people, the people of the Most High that got out of Egypt from the house of servitude, from the place where Egypt had fallen. These people, the Egyptians, no longer walked according to the laws of the Most High. They also made a part of the population called the Bantu, the Israelites, to suffer. And the Most High, with a strong hand, will spare you the details, he took a small group of people out of the pain in Egypt, led by Moses, because Egypt no longer respected the 42 laws of the Mahat. So Egypt before, it lived according to the laws of the Most High, respecting the 42 laws of the Mahat. But a few pharaohs rose into power in Egypt and disobeyed the sacred laws. They forced and placed people into situations that are very difficult. The Most High wanted to attempt a new experience of theocracy with a people that are called the Israelites, the Bantu, the Isolele, the Bena Congo. And these people got out of Egypt and went towards Canaan. The Most High gave them a list of principles that if they walked by these principles, they will build a civilization where they will find the real sense of life, and the Most High will be with them. So the Most High made a contract or an alliance with his people, and this alliance is resumed in 10 principles. In these principles, 4 principles concerns the relationship of these people with the Most High. The top 4, it means the first 4 principles, the Bible calls them commandments, speaks of how these people need to behave in the relationship with the Most High. And the remaining 6 principles define the relationship of these people among themselves. So there are 2 parts or 2 sections in these 3 principles, in these 10 principles. The first part, which is the vertical branch, defines therefore the manner at which these people that basically have made an alliance with the Most High will behave towards the Most High, the vertical branch. The Most High is above and the people are below. And then we have the horizontal branch, which is composed of 6 principles of how we should live in spirituality among ourselves, so we can be able to create the cross of truth. Remember, we said that cross is not the cross of Golgotha, but the cross are the laws, the vertical bar, the top 4 laws, the horizontal bar, the 6 principles. See therefore the first element or elements of the cross of truth that Mfumu Yesu said everyone should carry their cross. It means everyone should carry this relationship of verticality with the Most High and this relationship of horizontality with their neighbor. Now let's look at basically the vertical branch. My dear brothers and sisters of Africa and the world, the 4 principles that guide the relationship of light with the Most High. In the first principle, he says, we resume, only the Most High is light. Bible says you shall worship only the Lord God, your God. Only the Most High is life. My children, the Most High says, I am the only light. I am the life and the force. Everything else is just a manifestation. I, only the Most High, I am light. There is no other light except the Most High. See therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, the Most High details the first principle. There is a need of the Israelites, Isolele, the Bantu Israelites, the Bena Congo, to know that only a Congo, Nzamba Pungu Tulendo, is the only light. Tata Nzambi Pungu Tulendo. The Most High is the only life and the only force, and everything else that is found in the visible and the invisible universe are only manifestations of the light of the Most High. They are only manifestations of that life and that force. Here we're basically in Exodus chapter 20, and we're in the first verse of the 10 commandments, but we're summarizing. So if you want to walk well in this world, you have to understand that only the principle of the Most High needs to guide us in our existence for the realization of our existential goal. Everything else is vanity, my fellow Africans. Everything else that is not a principle or a law of creation or the word of the Most High cannot lead us to the light of the Most High. See therefore the first principle that characterizes the verticality of our relationship with the Most High. And the Most High gave them a second principle in the contract when he gave Moses from the mountain. He says, you will not engage in any form of idolatry, either in the form of material things or non-material things. You will only worship the Most High. All other material objects serves you, it's in service to you in your experience on earth, but you will not make of these objects to become objects of idolatry, neither in heaven or below the heaven. So we resume by saying material things or non-material things cannot become in our existence or in our time here on earth as an object of idolatry. If not, you will be tied like a magnet to the material world, and you will continue to recycle, and you will not be able to attain your existential goal. Second principle. Third principle of this contract says you will not invoke or call on my name for egocentric needs. It means you will not call on the name of the Most High to satisfy your animal and fleshly desires. When you call on my name, the Most High says you need to call on my name in love, in justice, and in purity. In the style of the language that say you will not call on the name of the Lord in vain. So the first principle, only the Most High is light. The second principle, no worship of material or immaterial things. And the third principle that connects us to Him says, do not call the name of the Most High in ego. The flesh cannot participate in the worship or adoration, because in truth, in man, it is the spirit. It is the spirit that worships the Most High, not the flesh. And the last principle of the vertical bar of this contract says we need to organize our society. Yes, you may organize it as you may want, but you have to take account that at one moment, either in the week, in the manner that you shall organize yourself, there should be a time of meditation and contemplation out of your occupation to recognize that I, the Most High, I am your creator. The Sabbath. So the Most High says we need to organize ourselves in the temples, for example. At one moment we choose the day in our week. For example, in African cosmogony, it was a Friday. Christians do it on a Sunday. Adventists do it on a Saturday. Muslims do it on a Friday, where you shall meet as a congregation to remind yourself always that you are tourists on earth. To always remind yourself that you have a celestial citizenship. To do an account of the day or the week or the month or the year, so you can be able to fortify yourself to start off from a good foundation. The Sabbath is like a garage. You drive around your car. The Sabbath, you go and park in the garage. You change the oil. You improve some maintenance. So the Sabbath is very, very important. See there, for my dear brothers and sisters, the 4 sacred principles that need to guide all men and women of a good will in their relationship with the Most High. First law, only the Most High is light. Second law, no idolatry. Third law, no calling on the name of the Most High for egocentric needs. And fourth, you need to have a time to set aside to remind yourself of your celestial citizenship, which is basically the Sabbath. This is what Mfumuyesu will later say in a summarized manner: love the Most High, your creator, with all your force, your mind, your soul, and your heart. It is the 4 laws resumed in one. So you can see how the Most High is placing a cadre of life so that his people can evolve decently. So the second part of these principles of life, the second part of the contract, has 6 principles or 6 laws or commandments that need to guide our relationship among ourselves. That need to guide our relationships among ourselves. Among ourselves, we also need to be able to have relationships of light. We cannot live anyhow. We need to cultivate and create a culture of light in our relationships towards self, in the family, in relationship with others, and also in the society. So what are these 6 principles that need to guide us, ladies and gentlemen? Let's look at the horizontal branch. The first principle in the horizontal branch, the Most High says to Moses to give to the people, honor your father and your mother to live longer on the earth. Earth here means the physical dimension. During your time on earth, if you want to live longer, honor your father and your mother. And this will be our subject of our teaching in this class. But permit us to first name the other 5 principles, and we shall return to this. Second principle, do not commit murder. In French you say meurtre. Meurtre is the unlawful killing of another human being without justification or a valid excuse, especially the unlawful killing of another human with malice or bad intention. It does not mean do not kill. There are some people who need to be killed. You enter into my house, you try to steal and kill my children, I will kill you. It's not a sin. But when you kill unlawful, then it is murder. Third principle, do not commit adultery in all the senses, physically or spiritually. You yourself decode it. Fourth principle, do not steal in all the senses. Stealing of resources, like how you do to Africa. Stealing in banks with interest, 15%, 20%, all this, do not do it. Organize yourself by not doing this sort of stealing in your economic, social, administrative activities. There should be no any activities of theft. Fifth principle, in the horizontal branch, no false testimonies to betray your neighbor. You give false testimony. You are saying things you have not verified. Or it is said on the internet, he's a thief, while you have not verified and have no solid proof. Oh, this man is a thief. He wants to take money from the president, but you have no proof. Principle number 5 says, no false testimonies or accusations. The honor and reputation of someone cannot be abused anyhow. No. Sixth principle of the horizontal branch, do not covet. It means to envy the house of another, his wife, his children, his activities, because he is basically doing something very important in his life. You see it and you become envy. No, do not envy the house of your brother or your sister. So 6 principles in the horizontal branch. Now let's enter into our subject of today, honor father and mother. Hallelujah. So today we shall focus on the first principle of the relationship between humans. Honor your father and your mother. My dear brothers and sisters, in the ancient text, in ancient Hebrew, which is Kikongo, when the sacred authors were writing the Torah, the ancient Hebrew did not have pronouns in the writings. There were no articles or personal pronouns. The ancient Hebrew text wrote honor father and mother. It is only after the 15th century that the Masoretes, the theologians of the time, I'd like to give a small update on the Masoretes. So the Masoretes basically were groups of Jewish scribe scholars who worked from around the end of 5th to the 10th century, based primarily on medieval Palestine in the cities of Tiberias and Jerusalem, as well as Iraq. The Masoretic text, known as the text of tradition, is the authoritative Hebrew and Aramaic text of the 24 books of the Hebrew Bible, the Torah. The Masoretic text defines the Jewish canon and its precise letter text with its vocalization and accentuation, known as the Masorah. So we understand those who are basically in the biblical schools do not have the understanding of the history of the writings and how the writings were compiled. Please study these things. Very, very important. It's really important to understand how the scriptures, the Bible, was compiled. My dear persons, it was done by men. Do you know the intentions behind these men's heart? You don't know. So it is the Masoretic text that added the articles and the pronouns in the sacred text for a better readability. But when they were adding these things, it reinforced, yes, the readability of certain text, but it also disturbed and occulted the true sense of other texts. The Masoretes in the 15th century, go and verify, you all seekers of truth, to check the pertinence of what Zola Bantu is trying to say. So when you touch the sacred text and you do not look at the historicity of the text, you end up touching and editing things intellectually with no wisdom of the sense of the true meaning of the text. So on the point of view of the originality in the text, it was written in the original Hebrew, honor father and mother. But when the Masoret recompiled the Torah by adding personal pronouns of definitive and indefinite articles, they read the text and said, honor father and mother, and said to themselves, honor father and mother, what does this mean? We think it means honor your father and your mother. And they added your father and your mother. And at this particular moment, it changes the whole sense of the text. In the New Testament, in Ephesians chapter 6 verse 3, for example, the same era is repeated. If you honor your father and your mother, things will go well with you and you have long life on earth. Careful. The Most High is speaking to the Israelites, the Bantu Israelites, the Bena Congo, Isolele. The Most High says, look at how you should love me. 4 principles of verticality. See how you should live with your neighbor. And the first principle, the Most High addresses the children. There's no sense. There's no sense in this. The first principle, he addresses the children, but the children are under the responsibility of the parents. How can the Most High, in the horizontal branch of the relationship between the humans, he addresses the children and say to the children, honor your parents? It makes no sense. Even in the logic, it means absolutely nothing. So the Most High is speaking to adults. And the first principle of horizontality says, you therefore need to honor your function of fatherhood and your function of motherhood. Let's look at the laws of verticality. I am only the creator. No idolatry. Do not call my name in vain. Respect the Sabbath. And among you, the first principle, your function of fatherhood and your function of motherhood needs to be honored. Children of Africa. See, therefore, 2 detailed arguments. The text, from the point of view of its originality, there were no your, mine, theirs in the text. And secondly, it's absolutely nonsense that the Most High is setting up a contract of relationship between human beings. He addresses the children first. Even from Yesu, when he resumed the 6 principles of horizontality, what did he say? Love your neighbor as yourself. Even from Yesu was speaking to adults. It means the 10 principles are principles of the adult world. We had to address this first to remove the error in the text. And now that we have been able to correct the error, the contract is for adults, not for children, because children depend on their parents. Now we shall be able to enter into details. What does it mean to honor the function of fatherhood? And then we shall look at basically on what does it mean to honor the function of motherhood, and why from this honor comes the reward of a long life on earth. Children of Africa, listen to us very careful, because our civilization has failed in its first commandment. This is the first commandment of life between us human beings. This is one from Jesus used to say, do not do to another what you wouldn't want the other person to do to you. Well, there are 6 principles hidden in that. And the first is honor father and mother. Honor the principle of fatherhood and honor the principle of motherhood. Start with the first principle, honor fatherhood. To honor fatherhood, we're going to be very real with you, my dear brothers and sisters. We'll not beat around the bush to make you feel nice, because we do not speak to kids. We shall start with the first point, which is sex. First thing, there is no need for your penis to be used anyhow and whenever to give birth to children. Remember the class on reincarnation. A father, when he wants to bring to the world his children, it is something that he has to reflect into his mind, into his soul deeply. It is something that he needs to know what he is doing. He enters into prayer to ask for the force from the Most High to engage into the responsibility and the act of sex. It is not that you are there and you meet a woman and you sleep with her and then she falls pregnant. That is ultimate stupidity in 3D dimension. How many men have produced children in this way? That is not to honor the function of fatherhood. We are not animals, we are spirits. When you want to call upon another spirit, this feeling needs to be needed, reflected, and prayed upon, and be in the context and union of marriage. Having children out of wedlock is irresponsibility, because you produce these children by being playful. Others go to the bar and get drunk, and they later end up in the hotel to have sex, and there comes a child. Is that serious? Are we going to build the Africa of tomorrow with such behaviors? How in such playfulness you will honor the function of fatherhood? You are a disgrace. So you have to be very, very careful in your sexual relationship, because it impacts future relationships. If there's a child, you have to be able to assume the responsibility to the end. So the first thing in honoring fatherhood, we have to be very careful in the manner that children come into the world. A child here and there, a child in California, another child in Texas, another child in Ghana and in Kenya. This is not serious. How do you plan to build a new Africa with people who have no master or control of their sexual feelings? That is why the Most High gave the 10 principles to lead our life in the right way. And one of the principles says, honor fatherhood. Second point is responsibility. To honor father, or to honor the function of father, also means that the function of a father is not only to be a sperm donor. You get a woman pregnant and you disappear from the life of the child. You appear at 18 years old, you say, is my child. Nonsense. The function of fatherhood implicates and requires responsibility. You hear men of today say, he is my child, my flesh and blood. Nonsense. But you never took part in raising the child. You have been irresponsible since the birth of the child, and you appear in the life of the child at the age of 18 and you say he's your child. You're not serious, and you call yourself a Christian and you go to church every Sunday. This is the eternal gospel. We are voicing out here at Zola Bantu the eternal gospel. The things of the Most High comes with a big responsibility. You hear them say, oh, on the cross he took away my sins. He never took anything because you are not responsible. You are a sperm donor. You go and sell your sperm in the banks to have money. Is that what it means to honor the function of fatherhood? A father is a role that needs to be honored because the destiny of humanity depends on it. In every city you pass by, you make babies. Where is your seriousness? This is the first law of the commandment of the Most High on the horizontal branch of our relationship among ourselves. We need to be able to control the births on earth. And when there's a birth, we need to assume the responsibility. Third point, living habitat. The function of a father is also honored when a father assures a habitat, a house or a home, or a convenient place or space for his children and his family. You on the left, the kids on the right, the house rent, you do not participate. The children live far away from you. What is this? When they ask you to explain yourself, you begin to scratch your head and say, it was errors of young age. I was a youth. You see, you're not serious. Oh, it was an error. A child that comes into an error, you think such a child will come from the Most High? The child is already at a disadvantage right from birth because you are not honoring the function of fatherhood. So you have already disadvantaged the child, the future of the child, right from birth, because you thought that to honor father and mother, it means it is the children that need to honor you. Now look at your face. You're surprised. It's your responsibility. You live at your parents' house. You have 9 kids at your parents' house. Some kids sleep on the floor and in the living room. Are you honoring the function of fatherhood? Why are you making babies when you're not in the situation to assume your responsibilities? Why? What are you doing to this law, this principle of life? And the children are exposed to themselves, and then when they are not well educated, you say, oh, my children do not respect me. Well, you have not honored the function of fatherhood. You have no right to respect. You have no right to be respected. I'm sorry. You will later see in the consequences, you will not live longer. You have stress and stroke, BP, your high blood pressure will rise. You have heart attack and coma because those children will create misery for you. Fourth point, provider. To honor the function of fatherhood is also to assure all the material needs and all the needs in the gradual evolution of your children. Children in primary school and secondary school, soon they will be at the university. You need to prepare at hand the school fees when they enter into university. Oh, the kids will be in university very soon. They will need this and this. We need to set something aside as money in the bank to be able to look into the future. Kids very soon will be in the university. That is fatherhood. Evidently, when we say this, there's also a responsibility of the government to make sure that there are schools available and the economy is stable, transportation and jobs and things like that. But here we're addressing how to honor this function. You do not buy your children clothes. You do not take your children out to restaurants. You always spend your time with your friends. You do nothing of your parental responsibility as a father. It is a sin. You are breaking the 6th principle of the 10th principle. The first principle of the horizontal relationship. See therefore honoring fatherhood in the new Africa in the light of the eternal gospel. Point number 5, discipline. To honor the function of fatherhood is to help children to have an environment of discipline. You are a father. It is you that needs to create an environment of discipline in the house so the children can grow in discipline. You need to help them in their choices of life, to accompany them and protect them in their weakness. You have to always be there during their apprenticeship, support their weaknesses, support their failures, do the homework of exemplarity. This is what it means to honor the function of fatherhood. It is the heavy responsibility. Isolele, the Bantu Israel, if you want to have happy days ahead of you, if we do not honor the function of fatherhood, we'll have children in the streets. And tomorrow we shall tax our kids to be sorcerers and witches because the function of fatherhood has failed. We have politicians who are thieves, who have rapists in the society. My dear brothers and sisters. 6th point, grandchildren. To honor the function of fatherhood later, what would this function be? You will need to help later your small grandchildren. You will now assist their parents who are now responsible adults. You have to guarantee the cohesion and unity of the family. You have to show proof of wisdom. Show proof of love like Christ loved his church. Support everything for spiritual ascension of your family. See what it means to honor the function of fatherhood. Are we like this? Oh, we made errors when we were young, we were youths. Okay, but what about the ones we have now? That responsibility is the question. So-called servant of God. You see, it's absolutely nonsense. People do not live anymore and no longer live the principles of the Most High. The Most High traced for us a cadre that has 2 branches. The first branch is our relationship with Him. If we enter into the first branch in details, it will be a catastrophe because we are not teaching on that today. Because if we teach on the first branch in the new Africa, you will go crazy. We did not understand the 10 commandments. We just speak about it in church. We don't understand absolutely nothing about the 10 commandments because we listen to the teaching of the 10 commandments today. These pastors of today in their churches, it's very sad that some of the things that we hear. But today we are teaching only on the principle of honor father and mother. Please, let's think and let's correct our lives. It's almost late, but it's not yet late. People have entered into situations that are basically unfixable. And how will you assure a happy and a long old age? How will you live longer on earth? When you be old, your kids will call you a witch. When you become old, you will become in contradiction with your children. You end up saying, my kids do not take care of me. They will put you in old age homes and abandon you there. Today, parents who honor the function of fatherhood and motherhood, their children are taking care of them. Their days on earth has been extended. When they have a problem and they call on the phone, immediately Mr. Ndai is there to help them. But for you who did not honor the function of raising your children, you were not helping them in their life, you did not provide for them an environment of discipline, and now your child has succeeded on his own, now you want to eat his money. No. That child sold water in plastics in the streets to come to Europe, and now you want to present him to the world and say, look at my son. But you were the first to be hard on him, hard in pain and hate. You did not exercise the function, but you want the honor of the function. You will not get it. You will not get it, because in spirituality there is a law of reciprocal of effects. Causes produces effects. If you did not honor the cause, you have contrary effects that are negative. See the wisdom of the Most High. And now we shall look basically into honoring motherhood. To honor the function of motherhood, the mothers of Africa, the mothers of the Caribbean, the diaspora, listen. My mothers, call your friends, sit and listen. How does it mean? What does it mean to honor the function of motherhood? We shall start with the same procedure as we did with fatherhood. Sex. The responsibility is not to play around with sexual acts anyhow and have children that are not desirable and not planned. The Most High gave you a cycle. You know and you can calculate your cycle. You need to have the intelligence to calculate your cycle. You have 28 days. The 4th day is the day of ovulation. The ovule, when there is ovulation, the 4th day, you divide your cycle by 2. You live 3 days on the left, 3 days on the right. You live a period of almost 1 week where you are sure that no sperm can fertilize the egg that has been released to your uterus. Live those days. Live those 6 days. It only ennobles you because you want to honor the function of motherhood. How many young girls have gotten pregnant at the age of 15 and have a child, and it has affected even their schooling? School ends and the girl starts to sell on the streets because she was not serious. And why? Why was she not serious? You come to see that her mother did not honor the function of motherhood, and this child is affected up to the 4th generation. So when you're a mother, even before becoming a mother, there's a need for you to know first, I want to be a mother. Have you prepared the condition materially, astrally, mentally, spiritually to assume that function? Point number 2. My mothers, it is you that pull spirits from the heavens, from the astral world to come into this world. It is you that invites these people, these beings to come and have an experience on the earth. So to honor motherhood, it is to know that it is you that have the responsibility of pulling spirits from the astral world to incarnate into the baby that you're growing into in your womb. Because spirits come by the law of attraction of affinity. We spoke about this in the class of reincarnation, and we thought that birth comes by the law of attraction of affinity. You get pregnant where you are drunk. Are you serious? You get out from a hotel where you engage in the act of sexual immorality and you are pregnant. Where do these children come from? From the Most High? Are you honoring the function of motherhood? You are married. You are a married woman and you get pregnant from another man. Are you honoring the function of motherhood? Do you know what it means to be a mother? You hear such people attending Pan-African conference shouting, "Free Africa, free Africa." No, let us continue to be in pain because we are not serious. You do not yet have the maturity to assume the responsibility of Africa. Let's continue to suffer. The eternal gospel has come before you and you're having fun. It's almost too late. The Indians in America disappeared. And you say Zola Bantu is being harsh because you do not know the laws of creation. The judgment of the Most High is happening. If you're not careful, you'll be struck. It's not now that you need to harden your heart. We are not wearing any gloves when speaking to you. We're telling you plainly. How many marriages in the diaspora, some children in the marriage are not the children of the man who the woman is married to, and the man does not know? Well, what is the psychological equilibrium of this child? You see, you place the child in a very difficult situation. You are not honoring the function of motherhood. You are polluting the society with spirits that come from the lower astral world by your life of immorality, a life with no sanctification. It is a disaster, my friends. I think if people were serious, they would bow their heads and seek the Most High and say, "The Most High, we have sinned." The Most High has sent us to you to say, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear them from heaven and heal their land." 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14. But you need to humble yourself before the Most High. They have cooked us in the gospel of prosperity, in the gospel of typologies, and we are not serious in our marriages. We do not honor the function of motherhood. Whenever you fall pregnant, you only pull spirits from the lower astral world. Children of trisomy 21, Down syndrome, that come to pollute Africa, to pollute the world. Spirits that do not have to return, but because of the stupidity of your manner of living, you have brought back these people into existence, things that should not be on earth anymore. And now they are in the government, stealing the resources of the country, doing whatsoever they want with public funds because you mothers did not honor the function of motherhood. And these bandits, tomorrow they will create wars that will destroy the universe of tomorrow. They will become very great intellectuals that will push us straight into the consumption of GMO foods like you're seeing today. All these people were given birth by mothers who were irresponsible because the woman did not honor the function of motherhood by living in lower frequencies while she's engaging in the act of sex. Point number 3. You are the one that fashioned the steps of the cultural identity of the child. To honor the function of motherhood is also to fashion the first steps of the cultural identity of the child. It is the woman that does this. The choice of food, the choice of language. You gave birth to a child, you are a black woman, but speak in Dutch to this child. What identity are you fashioning into this child? You hear her, my kids need to go to English schools. My kids need to receive education in English, but you are a Shona. You are in Ndebele. You are a Zulu. Disgrace. The Shona culture ends with you. You are the one who would decide to stop the Shona culture from continuing in your generation by your children. All the kids that will follow, no one will know Shona or Zulu or Chichewa or Ndebele or Lingala. So all that heritage for thousands of years that our ancestors transferred to us, you, because of your so-called Western education and mindset, you decide to stop that and place your child in languages that are not of his or her cultural vibration, which are natural vibration. You feed the children food that does not correspond to the DNA of their body, and by consequences, these children have no identity, no cultural proudness, no authenticity to the African culture, because you, the mother that needs to be the guardian of the sacred flame, you have decided that things should be like that. Are you honoring the function of motherhood? This is also what it means to be a mother. To be a mother is to teach your children the maternal language of your culture. To be a mother is to teach your children to love the food of their lands and the lands of their ancestors. For you, all you know is just to fry chicken and chips. Point number 4. Teach the children the history of the family. To honor the function of motherhood is also to teach your children the history of the family. Your father's name is this. The father of your father, his name was this. They came from this place. He married this and this person. See how me and your father met. It was in these circumstances. See how our marriage happened. This is what it means to be and to honor the function of motherhood. This is what will develop our families and also our countries by perpetuating these traditions of light. This is the responsibility of the woman. It is not the child who needs to honor the mother. It is the mother that needs to honor the function of motherhood. Very sad. Point number 5. Transfer of love to the children. To honor the function of motherhood is to transfer love to the children, to transfer virtues to the children, to transfer good sense of life to the children. This child needs to respect the elders. This child needs to respect the society. The goods of the society do not belong to you. My son, if you work hard, be satisfied with your salary. But the account of money of the society is for public and not for personal use. It's the mother who puts these notions into the mind of the child. And today we have leaders who are stealing money because mothers failed. Today we see our leaders in Africa, in the management of the state, they are all thieves. Most of them. Why? Because their parents did not honor the function of fatherhood and motherhood. We're in a great social chaos, the failure of the state. But these words of the principle of fatherhood and motherhood needs to guide the nation. It is not the word to be repeated every day in Sunday in those spiritual shops called churches. A mother needs to communicate modesty. She needs to communicate joy, the love of the Most High, the love of the nation, the love of the family, virtue. This is the function of femininity and the function of motherhood. She needs to watch how the children eat, how they speak among themselves, advise the kids and give a report to the father, and the father needs to exercise authority in discipline and provide the needs of the family. Today a father is playing video games and the mother is busy watching novelas 24/7. What are you doing? Is that marriage? And you think you're okay because you have a flat screen TV, you eat 3 times a day, and you have a car parked in the garage. But oh, that is temporary, you see. When you do not honor the first principle that holds the horizontal relationship, then the cross does not stand. You are not carrying your cross, like Jesus said. As Zola Bantu, we want everyone to carry their cross, so that after us we'll have responsible adults that will be able to set before the African society in their physical formation and also their moral and spiritual formation. Men and women who are balanced, and this is our responsibility as Zola Bantu. We are trying our best. You can also, together we can change African society by changing our mentality by these sorts of teachings. We are very far. We go on the streets, we protest against our leaders, yet we have serious problems as we have explained in these teachings. Point number 6, prepare your daughter for femininity. To honor motherhood is to well prepare your daughter to the function of femininity. We will not speak of femininity. We spoke about it basically in the previous classes, where the mother needs to transmit femininity and matic comprehension of the femininity to her daughter, and later she will be a grandmother to her grandchildren. See therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, the comprehension of the fifth principle of the 10 commandments in the new Africa. And when you shall practice and honor this principle, you will see in consequence you have the respect and the esteem of your children, because they will grow in an effective equilibrium. The mother gives the love, the father assures the discipline, the needs of the family is assured. Parents do the work of exemplarity to the children. Children grow up in a good condition. And if you do not have a lot of money, have 1 or 2 kids. If you have more money, you can be able to have more children. You have to have the moral capacity to assure this honor of the function of fatherhood and motherhood, and in return, the children will respect you. These are direct consequences. When parents act like this, they will get the respect of their children. You will notice that even a child who is 23 years old or 40 years old respects you. They speak to you in respect. You have become their reference. He or she is in admiration when he or she speaks of their father and their mother. When they ask your child, who's your role model, he says, my father and my mother, not Beyonce and Jay-Z. And you will see in return, you'll be protected in your old age. The children will come to see you with joy. You will live a happy old life. And this is what the Bible says: your days on earth will be longer. You will prolong your days on earth in happiness. See therefore, my dear brothers and sisters of Africa, what we had for you in this series of basically the family, as we come to the close, to be able to understand femininity, to understand a family in the new Africa, to be able to understand also masculinity and femininity, and also to honor the function of fatherhood and motherhood. Our next series will be on marriage. We shall start with marriage. What does marriage mean? How do you prepare for marriage from a young age, 0 to 14? How do you prepare for marriage in adolescence? And how do you select a good partner to be able to build a family? We love you so much, Zola Bantu. My name is Avin Gayakangalangala. We love you so much. Hope we catch you next time in our next class entitled basically Marriage, Its Sense and Its Objectives.
We are Zola Bantu. We live in love, we live in purity, we live in justice. We are priests, we are scientists, we are judges. The 3 pillars of spirituality. We bring together the best of us, we build together, we don't destroy.
Isama munge, utaliya sama. Come on,